The starship Dawn of Peace dropped out of faster-than-light travel and drifted toward the brown and red planet below. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the observation window and watched Threxus Prime grow larger. She had seen many alien worlds in her 20 years of diplomatic service, but this one made her uneasy. "It looks angry," said Captain Torres, stepping up beside her. "Like the whole planet is made of dried blood." Elena smiled softly. "Planets are not angry, Captain. People are. And it is our job to calm them down." The year was 2347. Humanity had traveled among the stars for 200 years. In that time, they had built a reputation across the galaxy. Humans were traders. Humans were builders. Humans were talkers. They solved problems with words instead of weapons. Many alien species saw this as wisdom. Others saw it as weakness. The Cathari Dominion believed humans were weak. The Cathari were a reptilian species, tall and powerful, with scales like armor and eyes like burning coal. They had conquered 12 star systems in the past 50 years. Their warriors lived for battle. Their leaders spoke of honor and blood and glory. And recently, they had begun pushing into neutral space, threatening the trade routes that connected dozens of peaceful worlds. Earth's government, the United Stellar Authority, had sent Elena to fix this problem. She carried no weapons. She brought no warships. She came with gifts, trade agreements, and an offer of friendship. Some called her brave. Others called her foolish. Elena called herself a diplomat. The shuttle landed on Threxus Prime under a sky the color of rust. A group of Cathari soldiers waited on the landing platform. They stood in perfect formation, their ceremonial blades hanging at their sides. None of them bowed. None of them smiled. They simply watched with cold, yellow eyes as Elena and her team of 7 walked down the ramp. "Ambassador Vasquez," said the lead soldier. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "The High Imperator has granted you permission to enter our sacred city. You will follow me. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not touch anything. Do you understand?" Elena nodded calmly. "I understand. Thank you for receiving us." The soldier stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away, expecting them to follow. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, Elena's security officer, leaned close. "They are not happy to see us. They are testing us," Elena whispered back. "They want to see if we will get angry or scared. We will show them neither." The sacred city of the Cathari was a fortress of black stone and burning torches. Statues of ancient warriors lined the streets. Battle flags hung from every building. Everywhere Elena looked, she saw weapons, swords, spears, and things she could not name. The Cathari people stopped and stared as the humans walked past. Some of them hissed. Some of them laughed. None of them looked friendly. The High Imperator's palace sat at the center of the city, a massive structure built to look like a crouching beast. Inside, the walls were covered with the skulls of defeated enemies. Elena counted at least a dozen different species among them. She kept her face calm. She had seen worse. The throne room was enormous, filled with hundreds of Cathari warriors and nobles. At the far end, sitting on a throne made of bones, was Vorath, the unyielding, High Imperator of the Cathari Dominion. Vorath was huge, even by Cathari standards. His scales were black as midnight, and a long scar ran across his face from his left eye to his jaw. He wore armor covered in golden symbols, and in his clawed hand he held a curved blade that glowed with a faint red light. He did not stand when Elena approached. He did not even look at her at first. He simply sat there, letting the silence grow uncomfortable. Finally, he spoke. "So, the humans send a female to beg for peace." Laughter rippled through the throne room. Elena did not react. "High Imperator, I am Ambassador Elena Vasquez, representative of the United Stellar Authority. I come not to beg, but to offer. Humanity seeks friendship with the Cathari Dominion. We believe that trade and cooperation will benefit both our peoples." Vorath leaned forward. His yellow eyes studied her like a predator watching prey. "Friendship," cooperation. These are the words of the weak. The Cathari do not need friends. We take what we want. That is our way. With respect, High Imperator. Taking leads to war. War leads to death. Death leads to glory. Vorath interrupted. Death leads to glory. You humans do not understand this, because you are soft. You hide behind your words and your treaties. You have forgotten how to fight. Elena took a slow breath. We have not forgotten. We have simply chosen a different path. Vorath laughed, a harsh and terrible sound. Then you have chosen the path of prey, and prey exists only to be eaten. The meeting continued for another hour, but it was clear that Vorath had no interest in peace. He insulted humanity at every opportunity. He mocked their technology, their culture, their way of life. His advisors joined in, calling humans cowards and weaklings. Through it all, Elena remained patient. She answered every insult with kindness. She met every mockery with calm words. When the meeting finally ended, she bowed respectfully and thanked the Imperator for his time. That night, in the small building assigned to the diplomatic team, Elena sat alone in her room. She activated her private communication device and sent a message to Earth. The Cathari leadership is hostile. High Imperator Vorath views our peaceful approach as weakness. He may be planning something. I recommend increased security for all human ships in this sector. She paused, then continued. However, I am not leaving. If we run away now, we prove them right about us. We must show them that humanity does not abandon its principles because of threats. I will continue the mission. Vasquez, out. She turned off the device and walked to the window. Outside, the alien stars burned cold and distant. Lieutenant Commander Chen knocked and entered. Ambassador, I do not trust these people. Something is wrong. I can feel it. Elena nodded slowly. I know. I feel it too. Then why are we staying? Elena turned to face her. Because peace is worth fighting for, Sarah. Even if the fight is hard. Even if the people we are trying to reach do not want to listen. We keep trying. That is what makes us human. Chen was silent for a moment. Then she said, I hope you are right, Ambassador. Elena looked back at the stars. So do I. 3 days later, an invitation arrived from the High Imperator. He was hosting a ceremonial gathering in the Hall of Dominion. All foreign visitors were required to attend. Chen urged caution. The rest of the team expressed concern. But Elena believed that refusing would only make things worse. She accepted the invitation. She did not know she was walking into a trap. The Hall of Dominion was the largest building on Threxus Prime. It could hold 10,000 Cathari warriors. And on this night, it was completely full. Torches burned along the walls, casting dancing shadows across the stone floor. War drums beat a slow, steady rhythm that echoed through the massive chamber. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the main entrance with her team of 7 behind her. She wore her formal diplomatic uniform, white and blue with the golden symbol of Earth on her chest. Her head was held high, her face calm and professional. But inside, she felt cold. Something was wrong. She had felt it since the moment they left their building. The streets had been empty. The guards who escorted them had been silent. And now, as she looked around the Hall of Dominion, she saw that every single Cathari was armed. This was not a ceremony. This was something else. Lieutenant Commander Chen moved closer to her. Ambassador, we need to leave. Now. Before Elena could respond, the drums stopped. The massive hall fell silent. And then, from the far end of the chamber, High Imperator Vorath rose from his throne. Humans, he said, his voice booming across the hall. You have come to our world uninvited. You have insulted our traditions with your talk of peace. You have tried to make the Cathari weak with your treaties and your trade. Elena stepped forward. High Imperator, we came here as friends. We have done nothing wrong. Vorath smiled, and it was a terrible thing to see. Nothing wrong? You are spies. You are here to learn our secrets, and report them to your masters on Earth." A murmur ran through the crowd. The warriors began to hiss and stamp their feet. Elena kept her voice steady. "That is not true. We are diplomats, protected under galactic law. We carry no weapons. We have no hostile intentions. Please, let us speak reasonably. Galactic law?" Vorath laughed loudly. "Your laws mean nothing here. Mammal, this is Kethari space. This is my world. And on my world, my word is the only law." He raised his hand, and guards rushed forward. Before the humans could react, they were surrounded. Strong claws grabbed Elena's arms and forced her to her knees. Her team was pushed down beside her, their hands bound behind their backs. "Imperator," Elena shouted, "this is a mistake. Earth will not accept this. There will be consequences." Vorath stepped down from his throne and walked toward her slowly. The crowd parted before him like water before a ship. When he reached Elena, he looked down at her with eyes full of contempt. "Consequences," he repeated. "Let me tell you about consequences, human. For too long, the galaxy has watched your species spread across the stars, talking about peace and friendship. Other species have grown soft because of you. They have forgotten that strength is the only thing that matters." He drew his ceremonial blade. The red glow reflected in his yellow eyes. "Tonight, I will remind them. Tonight, I will show every species in the galaxy what happens to the weak. And I will start with you." Elena looked up at him without fear. Her heart was pounding, but her voice was calm. "If you do this, you will regret it. Humanity may be peaceful, but we are not helpless. We will respond." Vorath leaned close to her face. "Your species does not know how to respond. You will send messages of protest. You will make speeches in your councils. You will do nothing, because you have forgotten how to do anything else." He straightened up and turned to face the crowd. "Let this moment be remembered forever. Let the galaxy see that the Kethari fear no one." "One." He raised his blade high. Elena closed her eyes. The blade came down. The Hall of Dominion exploded with cheers and roars. Warriors stamped their feet and clashed their weapons together. Vorath stood over Elena's body, her blood dripping from his blade, and raised his arms in triumph. Lieutenant Commander Chen screamed and tried to break free, but the guards held her tight. The other diplomats watched in horror, unable to move, unable to look away. The entire execution had been broadcast on open channels. Every species in the galaxy with a communication system had seen it live. The Kethari wanted everyone to know. They wanted everyone to be afraid. Over the next 3 days, 3 more members of the diplomatic team were executed in the same public manner. Each death was broadcast. Each death was celebrated by the Kethari crowds. The 4 remaining humans were kept alive in a prison cell, held as trophies and bargaining chips. Across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some species expressed outrage and demanded action. Others stayed silent, too afraid of the Kethari to speak. Many simply watched and waited, curious to see what humanity would do. Most expected nothing. Humanity was known for peace, not war. They would complain. They would protest. They would accept defeat and move on. That was what soft species did. On Earth, it was night when the transmission reached the United Stellar Authority headquarters. The council chamber was full of leaders, generals, and advisors, all watching the footage on a massive screen. No one spoke. Admiral James Okonkwo, commander of the Seoul Defense Fleet, sat in the front row. He was a tall man, with dark skin and gray hair, his face carved by decades of service. He had fought pirates and protected colonies and kept humanity safe for 30 years. He had never felt rage like this. He watched the footage 3 times. He watched Elena Vasquez, a woman he had met twice at official functions, die on her knees in an alien throne room. He watched the Kethari celebrate. He watched Vorath raise his bloody blade and smile. When the screen finally went dark, the council erupted in chaos. People were shouting, demanding action. arguing about what to do. Some called for immediate war. Others urged caution. Admiral Okonkwo said nothing. He simply stood up and walked out of the room. 1 hour later, Earth's official response was transmitted to the Galactic Concord. It was short and simple. Humanity formally withdraws from all non-aggression protocols regarding the Kethari Dominion. May God have mercy on them. We will not. The message reached Threxus Prime the next morning. Vorath read it aloud to his advisors and laughed. They threaten us with words, he said. This is what I expected. The humans will do nothing. They are too afraid. His advisors laughed with him, but one of them, an old general named Thessar, did not laugh. He had studied humans for decades. He had read their history, their wars, their struggles. He knew things that Vorath did not. Imperator, he said quietly. I think we have made a terrible mistake. Vorath waved his hand dismissively. You worry too much, old friend. The humans are prey. And prey cannot become predators. It is not in their nature. Thessar looked at the message again. He felt something cold growing in his chest. Fear. Across the galaxy, in shipyards and military bases throughout human space, lights began to turn on. Factories that had been quiet for years roared back to life. Communications channels buzzed with activity. Something was waking up. Something very, very angry. 3 weeks passed after the execution of Ambassador Elena Vasquez. The galaxy waited for humanity's response. Nothing happened. No fleets moved toward Kethari space. No missiles were launched. No declarations of war were broadcast. The humans simply went quiet, like a radio signal that had been turned off. At first, the Kethari celebrated. High Imperator Vorath pointed to the silence as proof that he had been right all along. Humans were cowards. They talked about strength but had none. Their threats were empty, like the threats of a child who cannot fight back. We have broken them, Vorath announced to his warriors. We have shown the galaxy that the Kethari Dominion fears nothing. Now every species will know that we are the true masters of the stars. Celebrations lasted for days. Warriors drank and fought, and sang songs about their great victory. The public executions of the human diplomats were turned into theatrical performances, reenacted again and again for cheering crowds. But not everyone was celebrating. In the intelligence division of the Kethari military, analysts were noticing strange things. Human trading ships had disappeared from all sectors near Kethari space. Human businesses had closed their offices on neutral stations. Human tourists had canceled their travel plans. It was as if the entire species was pulling away, gathering together, turning inward. This is not retreat, said one analyst. This is preparation. Her warning was ignored. On the other side of the galaxy, other species were also watching. The Velmari, one of the oldest civilizations in known space, had been observing humanity since their first contact a century ago. Ambassador Thelis, a Velmari elder with blue-gray skin and eyes like deep pools of water, requested an urgent meeting with High Imperator Vorath. Vorath agreed, curious about what the ancient species wanted to say. Thelis arrived on Threxus Prime 3 days later. He was brought to the throne room, where Vorath sat surrounded by his most loyal warriors. Ancient One, Vorath said with mock respect. You have traveled far. Speak your piece. Thelis looked at the Kethari leader for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft but carried through the entire hall. I have come to warn you. I have come to beg you, if necessary. Release the remaining human prisoners. Send a message of apology to Earth. Do whatever you must to end this before it begins. Vorath laughed. Apologize? To the humans? Why would I apologize for showing strength? Because you do not understand what you have awakened. Thelis stepped closer, his old body trembling slightly. I have studied humans since they first left their planet. I have watched them grow and expand across the stars. I have seen how other species dismiss them as peaceful and soft. But I have also read their history. Their true history. He paused, letting the silence grow heavy. Humans are not a peaceful species, Thelis continued. They are a species that has chosen peace. There is a difference. A very important difference. For thousands of years, they fought among themselves with a brutality that would shock even the Kethari. They developed weapons capable of destroying their entire world. They came so close to extinction that they decided as a species to find a better way. Vorath waved his hand impatiently. Ancient history. They have grown soft. No. Thelis shook his head. They have grown patient. They have learned to control their darker nature. But that nature is still there. Imperator. It is sleeping. Waiting. And you have just woken it up. He looked directly into Vorath's eyes. Humans do not forget. They do not forgive. And they do not stop. Once they decide that someone is their enemy, they will pursue that enemy with a dedication that defies all reason. They will sacrifice everything, their comfort, their safety, their lives, to achieve victory. You have given them a reason to hate you, and you have united every single one of them against you. Vorath stood up from his throne. His eyes burned with anger. Enough. I will not listen to more of this cowardly talk. The Kethari are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. We will crush the humans like we have crushed every other species that has challenged us. Thelis sighed deeply. Then, I have failed, and your people will pay the price for your pride. He turned and walked out of the throne room. As he left, he passed General Thessar, who had been listening from the shadows. You believe what you said? Thessar asked quietly. Thelis stopped. I know what I said. I have seen the reports that your Imperator refuses to see. Human shipyards are running at 4 times their normal capacity. Resources are being gathered from every human colony. Civilian ships are being converted into warships. Private armies are joining the main fleet. He looked at the old general with sad eyes. In my long life, I have seen many species go to war. But I have never seen anything like what is happening in human space right now. They are not preparing for a battle, General. They are preparing for total war. And when they come, and they will come, they will not stop until there is nothing left of your dominion. Thessar felt the cold fear return to his chest. What can we do? Run, Thelis said simply. Run as far and as fast as you can. It is the only advice I have left. He walked away, leaving Thessar alone with his thoughts. Meanwhile, at the edge of Sol system, the human fleet was gathering. Ships came from everywhere, military vessels from Earth and the colonies, armed freighters from the trading companies, converted civilian craft from volunteer groups. Old warships that had been sitting in museums were pulled out and restored. Retired officers came out of retirement. Young people who had never held a weapon signed up for service. Admiral James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UNS Retribution, and watched the fleet grow larger every day. Ships of every size and shape filled the space around him, their lights blinking like angry stars. His aide, Commander Park, approached with a tablet. Admiral, final count is in. We have over 1,200 combat-capable vessels, with more arriving every hour. It is the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled. Okonkwo nodded slowly. And the Special Operations Team? Ready, sir. They are calling themselves Task Force Vasquez. Their mission is to rescue the remaining prisoners. The Admiral looked out at the fleet. Somewhere out there, 4 of his people were still alive, held in an alien prison. Somewhere out there, Ambassador Elena Vasquez's body was still being treated as a trophy. He had promised her family that he would bring her home. He intended to keep that promise. Send the final orders, he said quietly. We move in 48 hours. Commander Park hesitated. Sir, the Galactic Concord is asking us to wait. They want to attempt diplomatic intervention. Okonkwo turned to look at him. His eyes were hard as stone. Diplomacy died in that throne room, Commander. Now it is time for something else. 2 days later, the human fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness between stars. On the edge of Kethari space, border sensors began to detect strange readings, gravitational anomalies, ripples in space-time. At first, There were just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. A Cathari officer stared at his screen in confusion. What is happening? What are these readings? His superior looked over his shoulder and felt the blood drain from his face. Sound the alarm, he whispered. Sound every alarm we have. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 1,200 ships, arranged in precise attack patterns, floating silently against the stars. They had arrived, and they had brought hell with them. The first Cathari defense station lasted exactly 7 minutes. It was a massive structure, built to guard the main approach into Cathari space. 2,000 warriors staffed it. Heavy weapons covered every angle. It had never been defeated in 300 years of service. The human fleet did not even slow down. Missiles launched in coordinated waves, timed perfectly by artificial intelligence systems. Electronic warfare shut down the station's sensors and communications. Precision strikes destroyed weapon systems one by one. And then, when the station was blind and defenseless, the main guns of the fleet opened fire. When the dust cleared, there was nothing left but floating debris. Admiral Okonkwo watched the destruction from the bridge of the Retribution. His face showed no emotion. He simply nodded and gave the order to continue. Next target, he said. The war had begun. It was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Cathari were warriors, bred for combat and trained from birth to fight. They had conquered a dozen star systems through raw aggression and brutal force. They expected the humans to fight the same way, fleet against fleet, warrior against warrior, strength against strength. But humans did not fight like that. Humans fought to win. Instead of attacking the main Cathari fleets directly, the human forces spread out across enemy space, like water flowing through cracks. They targeted supply lines first, destroying cargo ships and fuel stations. They attacked communication networks, cutting off planets from each other. They struck food production facilities, weapon factories, and power stations. They did not fight for glory. They fought for results. The Cathari commanders were confused. This was not honorable combat. This was something else, something cold and calculated and terrifying. Every time they gathered their forces to fight, the humans were somewhere else, destroying something important. Every time they tried to defend a target, another target fell. Within 2 weeks, the Cathari war machine was beginning to starve. High Imperator Vorath raged in his throne room. "Find them!" he screamed at his generals. "Stop hiding behind your screens and fight them." "We are trying, Imperator," General Thesser said carefully. "But their tactics are unlike anything we have seen. They use small, fast ships that hit and run before we can respond. They have drones that fight without pilots. They have weapons we have never encountered before." "Excuses." Vorath slammed his fist on the arm of his throne. "The Cathari do not make excuses. We fight, we conquer, we win." He stood up and addressed all his commanders. "I will lead the fleet myself. We will meet the humans at the Crimson Nebula, where our ancestors won their greatest victories. We will outnumber them. We will overwhelm them. And we will destroy them once and for all." The Cathari fleet gathered at the Crimson Nebula over 3,000 warships, the largest military force the Dominion had ever assembled. Vorath stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, looking out at the swirling red clouds of the nebula. "They will come," he said confidently. "They cannot resist such a target. And when they do, we will crush them." He was right about one thing. The humans came. 1,200 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the nebula. Vorath smiled when he saw them. He had 3 times their number. Victory was certain. "All ships, attack," he commanded. "Destroy them all. Leave nothing alive." The Cathari fleet surged forward, weapons blazing, warriors screaming their battle cries. They charged into the nebula, eager for blood, and then the trap closed. The human ships had not come alone. Hidden in the radiation clouds of the nebula, masked by the swirling gases, were thousands of drones, small, unmanned weapons platforms controlled by artificial intelligence. They had been placed there days before, waiting silently. When the Cathari fleet entered the nebula, the drones attacked from every direction. Chaos erupted. Cathari ships tried to fight enemies they could barely see. The radiation interfered with their sensors. The drones were too small and too fast to hit, and while the warriors struggled with the swarm, the main human fleet moved into position and began a systematic bombardment. The Battle of the Crimson Nebula lasted 6 hours. When it ended, over 2,000 Kethari ships had been destroyed. Vorath barely escaped, his flagship damaged and burning. His fleet shattered. The humans lost less than 100 ships. News of the defeat spread across the galaxy. Other species watched in amazement. The Kethari, the great warriors, had been broken. And the humans, the soft, peaceful humans, had done the breaking. But the humans were not finished. As the main fleet continued its campaign, a smaller force had been working in secret. Task Force Vasquez, named after the murdered ambassador, consisted of 50 soldiers selected from the best special operations units in human space. Their mission was simple: rescue the 4 surviving diplomats from Threxus Prime. The mission was supposed to be impossible. Threxus Prime was the most heavily defended planet in Kethari space. The prisoners were held in a fortress deep underground. There were thousands of guards between them and freedom. Task Force Vasquez did not care. They approached the planet in a captured Kethari cargo ship, using stolen codes to pass through security. They landed in a remote area and moved through the wilderness on foot. When they reached the fortress, they did not attack the front gate. Instead, they used explosives to blow a hole in an underground water pipe and crawled through kilometers of tunnels in complete darkness. They reached the prison level at midnight. The guards never saw them coming. The fighting was fast and brutal. Human soldiers moved through the corridors like ghosts, their weapons silent and deadly. Room by room, level by level, they cleared the fortress. The Kethari guards fought back, but they were not prepared for enemies who moved this quickly, this quietly, this efficiently. 23 human soldiers died in the assault, but when it was over, the 4 surviving diplomats were freed. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, who had been held captive for over a month, looked at her rescuers with tears in her eyes. "I knew you would come," she whispered. "I told the others. I told them every day. I said Earth would not forget us." The team leader, a woman named Captain Rodriguez, helped Chen to her feet. "We never forget," she said. "Never." They also retrieved the body of Ambassador Elena Vasquez. The Kethari had kept it as a trophy, displayed in Vorath's personal collection. The soldiers wrapped it carefully in a flag and carried it with them as they escaped. The rescue was broadcast across human space. People celebrated in the streets. The message was clear: humanity protected its own. No matter where you were, no matter how far you had gone, if you were human, Earth would come for you. Back on Threxus Prime, Vorath learned of the rescue and flew into a rage. He killed 3 servants with his bare hands. He screamed about revenge and destruction and blood, but it was too late. The human fleet was approaching his homeworld. His military was broken. His people were beginning to doubt him. And somewhere in the darkness of space, Admiral Okonkwo was coming with a message of retribution. The Retribution and its fleet arrived at Threxus Prime 2 days later. They surrounded the planet in a ring of steel. Weapons pointed at the surface. Every ship, every gun, every missile was ready. Admiral Okonkwo broadcast a single message to the planet below. His voice was calm and cold. "Vorath, we have come for you. Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are failing. You have nowhere to run." He paused. "Come out and face what you have done." On the surface, in his palace of bones and skulls, Vorath listened to the message. For the first time in his life, he felt something he had never felt before. He felt small. The siege of Threxus Prime lasted 8 days. The human fleet surrounded the planet completely. No ships could enter or leave. Communications with the outside galaxy were cut off. The Kethari homeworld, the heart of their mighty dominion, was trapped. And yet the humans did not attack. They did not bomb cities. They did not strike civilian centers. They did not burn the planet from orbit, as many expected. They simply waited, silent and patient, their weapons ready but unused. Inside his palace, High Imperator Vorath paced back and forth like a caged animal. His advisors urged him to fight, to die with honor, to lead one final glorious charge against the enemy, but Vorath hesitated. For the first time in his life, he was afraid. Why do they wait? He demanded. Why do they not attack? What are they planning? General Thessar stood by the window, watching the distant lights of the human fleet. They want you, Imperator. They do not want to destroy our people. They want to destroy you. Then they are fools. The Kethari will never surrender. But even as he spoke, Vorath knew that something had changed. The celebrations had stopped. The cheering crowds had disappeared. Instead, there were whispers in the streets. People were asking questions. They were asking why their Imperator had started a war he could not win. They were asking why their sons and daughters had died for his pride. On the third day of the siege, small groups of protesters appeared outside the palace. By the fifth day, the groups had grown into crowds. By the seventh day, the crowds had become a mob. "This is your fault," they shouted. "You brought the humans here. You murdered their diplomat. You brought this destruction upon us." Vorath ordered his guards to disperse the protesters, but the guards hesitated. Many of them had lost family members in the war. Many of them had watched friends die in battles that should never have been fought. On the eighth day, the end came. A group of Kethari generals, led by General Thessar, walked into the throne room with weapons drawn. Behind them came hundreds of soldiers, their faces grim and determined. Vorath rose from his throne, reaching for his blade. "What is this? Treason? Justice," Thessar said quietly. "The Council of Generals has voted. You are no longer our Imperator. You will be handed over to the humans as a gesture of peace." "I will kill you all," Vorath roared. He lunged toward Thessar with his blade raised. He never reached him. A dozen weapons fired at once, and Vorath fell to the ground, wounded but alive. Guards rushed forward and bound his arms and legs. Thessar looked down at the fallen Imperator without emotion. "Send a message to the human fleet," he ordered. "Tell them we accept their terms. Tell them Vorath is theirs." The next morning, Admiral James Okonkwo landed on Threxus Prime. He did not come with an army. He brought only a small honor guard of 12 soldiers, dressed in their finest uniforms. They carried no heavy weapons, only sidearms, and in the center of their formation, 4 of them carried a coffin draped in the flag of Earth. Ambassador Elena Vasquez was coming home. The streets of the capital were lined with Kethari civilians. They watched in silence as the humans walked past. There was no hatred in their eyes, only exhaustion, and something that might have been respect. The Hall of Dominion was nearly empty when Okonkwo entered. The torches that had burned so brightly on the night of Elena's execution had been put out. The war drums were silent. The celebrating warriors were gone. Only General Thessar remained, standing at the foot of the empty throne. Beside him, bound in chains and forced to his knees, was Vorath the Unyielding. Okonkwo walked the length of the hall slowly. His footsteps echoed in the vast empty space. When he reached Vorath, he stopped and looked down at the creature who had murdered his people. Vorath raised his head. Even now, even in chains, there was defiance in his eyes. "So," Vorath said, "the humans have come to kill me. Go ahead. Give me a warrior's death. That is all I ask." Okonkwo was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice calm and measured. "You think I came here to kill you? Why else would you come?" Okonkwo shook his head slowly. "I came here to show you something you never understood." He gestured to his soldiers, and they brought the coffin forward. They set it down gently, reverently, in the exact spot where Elena Vasquez had died. "This woman came to your world with gifts," Okonkwo said. "She came with trade offers and friendship. She carried no weapons. She threatened no one. She believed, truly believed, that she could find peace with your people. He looked at the coffin, and for a moment, his stone-faced expression softened with grief. And you killed her. You killed her slowly, publicly, to make a point. You wanted to prove that kindness was weakness. You wanted to show the galaxy that the Kethari were strong. He turned back to Vorath. But you were wrong. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is a choice. We choose to be peaceful. We choose to negotiate instead of fight. We choose to build instead of destroy. But we can also choose differently when we have to. He stepped closer to Vorath. We could have burned your worlds. We could have killed your civilians. We could have done to your people what you did to our diplomats. But we did not. Because strength is not cruelty. Strength is restraint, until restraint is no longer an option. Vorath stared at him. For the first time, there was something other than defiance in his eyes. There was confusion. There was uncertainty. You took our choice from us, Okonkwo continued. You forced us to become something we never wanted to be. And now you will face the consequences not from human hands, but from your own people. He nodded to General Thessar. We are handing him over to you, Okonkwo said. Let him face Kethari justice. Let his own people decide what to do with him. Thessar bowed his head. It will be done. He will stand trial for his crimes against our people and yours. And he will pay for what he has done. Vorath began to struggle against his chains. No. You cannot do this. Kill me yourself, human. Give me a proper death. Okonkwo turned away. You do not deserve a proper death. You deserve to watch your empire crumble. You deserve to see your legacy become a warning to others. You deserve to live long enough to understand exactly what you destroyed. He walked back to the coffin and placed his hand on the flag-draped surface. We are taking her home, he said softly. And then we are leaving. We have no interest in ruling your worlds or enslaving your people. We just came to deliver a message. He looked back at Vorath one last time. The message is this. Do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Do not test our patience. And never, ever, harm our people again. The peace treaty was signed 3 days later. The Kethari Dominion agreed to pay reparations, release all prisoners, and recognize human space as protected territory. A memorial to Ambassador Elena Vasquez would be built on Threxus Prime, in the Hall of Dominion, on the exact spot where she had died. The galaxy watched and remembered. Admiral Okonkwo returned to Earth with the body of Elena Vasquez. Her funeral was broadcast across all of human space. Billions watched as she was laid to rest with full honors, her coffin covered in flowers from 100 different worlds. Okonkwo gave the eulogy. He spoke of her courage, her dedication, her belief in peace. And then he spoke about what her death had meant. She believed in peace, he said. She died for that belief. And because of her sacrifice, peace will endure. Because now the galaxy knows what happens when peace is broken. Years passed. The Kethari Dominion changed. Under new leadership, they began to rebuild their society. They taught their children about the war, about the mistakes that had been made, about the price of arrogance. Some Kethari even came to admire the humans for their restraint. Humanity returned to its peaceful ways. Traders went back to trading. Diplomats went back to negotiating. Scientists went back to exploring. The warships were put away. The soldiers sent home. The anger allowed to fade. But the galaxy remembered. On a space station far from Earth, a young alien diplomat approached a human colleague. The alien was new to the Galactic Concord and curious about the species he would be working with. I have studied your people, the young alien said. You are always so insistent on peaceful solutions. You negotiate when others would fight. You compromise when others would demand. Why is that? I can't. The human, an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes, smiled sadly. Because we know exactly what we are capable of when peace fails, she said. And we never want to become that again. The young alien thought about this for a long time. In the years that followed, he never forgot it, and neither did anyone else.